Installing mental model for coding agent skills. You wrote a skill, then it didn't fire. Your prompt was right there. The skill was sitting in the folder. The agent just ignored it. So you tried again, tweaked the wording. Still nothing. You're not the only one. This is one of the most common bugs with Anthropic's agent skills standard, and it almost always traces back to one wrong assumption. A lot of devs hear the word skill, and they imagine a system prompt, or a fancy tool, or a piece of RAG. A skill borrows pieces of each, but it's not any of them. A skill is a folder. Inside that folder is a markdown file the agent decides on its own to load. The deciding part is the whole game. In the next 6 minutes, you'll know what's actually inside a skill, why the description field decides everything, the loading model that keeps your library cheap as it grows, and how skills sit alongside MCP without stepping on it. Let's start with what's in the folder. A skill is a folder. Inside that folder is one required file called SKILL.md. Everything else, extra docs, scripts, templates, is optional and lives in subfolders next to it. Open up the SKILL.md. The top is YAML. 2 fields are required, a name and a description. Below that is Markdown, plain instructions, whatever the agent needs to do the job. Let's make this concrete. Imagine a skill called Code Review. The job is to review pull requests the way your team likes them reviewed. The name is Code Review. The description says when to use it. The body lays out the playbook. Check naming, look for missing tests, flag anything touching auth. That's a skill. A skill.md with a name, a description, and a body. Anthropic's PDF skill is shaped exactly the same way. Front matter at the top, instructions below, a couple of helper files off to the side. Layout is the easy part. The hard part is getting the description right, because the description is doing something most devs don't expect. Here is the load-bearing idea of the entire spec. The description is not a tagline, it's a router. When the agent starts up, it reads the name and description of every skill in your library. Just those 2 fields. That's around 100 tokens per skill, and it's the only thing the agent knows about that skill until something triggers it. So when you type a prompt, the agent scans every description and decides, does this match? If your description for code review says helps with code, the agent has no idea when to fire it. Code is everywhere. It might fire on a typo question. It might miss an actual review request. Make it sharp. Review pull requests, check naming, missing tests, and security issues. Use this when the user pastes a diff or says, review this PR. Now the boundary is clear. The agent fires it on the right prompts and skips it on the wrong ones. This is the most common reason skills don't fire. The description was a label, not a router. Anthropic ships an entire skill called Skill Creator with an evaluation loop just for tuning these. That's how load-bearing this field is. So write the description like a function signature for the agent's decision logic. Be specific about when, not just what. Once the agent decides to fire a skill, the second mechanism kicks in. It's called progressive disclosure, and it's how the spec stays cheap as your library grows. There are 3 loading layers. Watch them stack. Layer 1, metadata. The name and description for every skill, always loaded, around 100 tokens each. 20 skills cost you 2,000 tokens of overhead. That's the price of having them available. Layer 2, the body. When the agent decides a skill matches, it reads the full skill.md into context. The spec recommends keeping this under 5,000 tokens, and Anthropic's best practice guidance says aim for under 500 lines. Not arbitrary numbers, that's the activation cost for one skill, and the agent pays it every time the skill fires. Layer 3, references. Inside the body, you can point to other files. References, scripts, assets. Those don't load until the body explicitly tells the agent to read them. Our code review skill keeps a security checklist in references/security.md. That file only enters the conversation when the diff actually touches auth code. This is why the 500-line guideline exists. It nudges you to push detail outward. The body becomes a map. The references become the territory. 20 skills, hundreds of references, but the agent only ever loads what the current task needs. That's the scaling story. Detail lives in references. The body stays a map. If you've heard of MCP, you might be wondering where skills fit. The two get conflated constantly. They shouldn't. MCP exposes capabilities. Skills teach when and how to use them. MCP is a protocol. It standardizes how an agent calls a tool. Your GitHub MCP server exposes create issue, list pulls, post comment. The agent invokes those across a wire. A skill doesn't expose a callable function. It teaches the agent procedure, the order of steps, the team's conventions, what to do first. Look at our code review skill. The body says, read the diff, check naming rules, then call the GitHub MCP tool to post the comment. The skill is the playbook. MCP is the hands. You compose them. The skill body literally references which MCP tools to call and when. Anthropic describes a skill as an onboarding guide for a new hire. MCP is what gets the new hire badged into the building. You need both, and they don't compete. So when you read, we shipped a skill for X, it's not replacing your tools. It's telling the agent how to use them. Quick recap. 4 things, in order. 1. The description is the router. The agent reads every description on startup and uses them to decide what to load. Vague description, wrong routing. Specific description with when clauses, clean routing. This, almost always, is why your skill doesn't fire. 2. The body is the playbook, loaded only when the description matches. Aim for under 500 lines so activation stays cheap. 3. References are the territory, loaded only when the body says to load them. That's progressive disclosure, and it's why a library of 20 skills doesn't crush your context window. 4. Skills don't replace MCP. MCP exposes capabilities. Skills teach when and how to use them. Skill bodies call MCP tools. Actionable next step. When you write a skill, draft the description first, before the body, before a single instruction. Then test it. Paste a prompt that should fire it, paste one that shouldn't, watch which one the agent actually picks up. If it fires the wrong way, the description needs more when, not more what. That's it. Description, body, references, composed with MCP. Now go ship one that actually fires. Cognitive architecture updated.